All right. Meantime, the nation reacting tonight to the president's overseas trip and a series of meetings at the G20 summit, including his much-anticipated sit-down with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Joining me now to talk about all of it, political commentator Tomi Lahren. Tomi, thanks for joining us. Your first time on Justice. We're happy to have you here. Tomi, I want to start with the meeting of Trump and Putin. Is there anything that the left-wing media can see that came out positive on that?
Well, of course not. They are too busy talking about body language, how long it lasted. And, I got to say this, what I find very disappointing from, the unloving and intolerant left is that though they seem to stand up for tolerance and for acceptance for the LGBT community, they seem to not have a problem with posting memes of President Trump and President Putin in a negative light. So that, first of all, is very disappointing. But, the leftist mainstream media, they could really care less about the positive advancements and the America First agenda and how positive this trip was. They're going to poke any hole that they can, and they, of course, chose this meeting to do it. All right.
I want you to listen to something. This is Secretary of State Rex Tillerson talking about the meeting between Trump and Putin.
They had a very robust and lengthy exchange on the subject. The president pressed President Putin on more than one occasion regarding Russian involvement. President Putin denied such involvement, as I think he has in the past.
And what's interesting about that is that, the left is saying, this really wasn't Donald Trump pressing on the Russian meddling thing. But I sometimes wonder, if President Trump accuses Putin or asks him about the Russian so-called meddling, then they could go back and forth for the whole 2 hours and 15 minutes that they met. And what does he expect? Putin to confess one way or the other? They have to move on and talk about something forward.
Well, the mainstream media can't move on, and they seem to think because they're obsessed with this narrative that the American people need to be obsessed with it as well. And so they spend all of their time talking about, well, did he push him enough? They seem to want us to start aggressions with Russia because John Podesta and Debbie Wasserman Schultz couldn't protect their emails. So they seem to want to go to war with Russia over that, while the rest of the American people are thinking, why don't we get some reform done? Why don't we build a wall? Why don't we put America first?
Well, and the amazing part of it is that for all the months of the so-called collusion, I mean, nobody can come up with one iota of evidence. And did you notice, Tomi, that there's starting to be less and less talk about the Russian collusion, because they're going to look like fools at the end, although, who knows what Mueller and his Trump-hating team are going to end up doing. But finally, what do you think of the fact that, according to those who were there, that Trump and Putin connected very quickly and that they had positive chemistry?
I think that's fantastic. Anytime we can have our leader connect with a foreign leader and have a productive conversation, everyone wins in this situation. I don't know about you, but I'm not tired of winning yet. So if we can actually have a Russia restart that the last two administrations failed to do, why would anyone have an issue with that? That's what I don't understand.
And, the amazing part also is that people seem to not recognize the mutual interest that we may have as it relates to Syria, and the fact that they actually signed a memorandum of a de-escalation agreement in, I believe it's southwest Syria, with the United States, Russia, and Jordan. I mean, all that is extremely positive. And when you think about, Obama dancing with the devil in Tehran as they yell death to America, it seems kind of hypocritical, wouldn't you say?
Well, of course, but they are still, again, bitter that Hillary didn't become president, and they think that the reason for that is because of the Russians and because of Putin. So they will not let that go, because then they would have to actually accept the results of the election and move on. They would actually have to put forth policy positions and have an agenda, but we know that that's not their favorite thing to do. So instead, they're just going to beat this dead narrative until, I don't know, 2020, when we win again. I don't know. I think that sounds good to me, though.
Yeah, it sounds good to me as well. Now, are you in Dallas now, Tomi?
I am.
Okay. So Dallas has just, recognized the 1 year, or realized, I should say, the 1 year anniversary of the shooting of 5 cops in Dallas. I mean, how do you think, as you look back on the last year, this cop hatred can be stopped going forward?
Well, I will say that the election of President Trump is a great step forward, and many of my friends here in Dallas are in law enforcement, and I tell you, having the support of the president behind them for the first time in 8 years is refreshing. But I tell you about Dallas. This city is lit blue. It's going to be lit blue for probably for many days to come, because we really rally around our law enforcement here. And, you know, it's a somber mood, but it's also uplifting and it's inspiring, because we remember what we did and how we came together to support our law enforcement. And I think that that's what's great about Dallas.
And you know what? I remember the police chief. I was so impressed with the Dallas police chief. Anyway, Tomi Lahren, good to have you on. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.